Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Comic Book Users. Welcome to another episode of the show alongside my co-host extraordinaire today, Mr. Kirk Manning.
Hey,
Sitting in for Wild Bill for a few episodes here. And we wish Bill's mom all the best. She is a little under the weather, going through some stuff. So hopefully Mrs. Shields is doing good. But Bill, we love you. And Mrs. Shields as well. So today we're going to go back to Marvel magazines, the Curtis stuff, and we're going to take a look at Rampaging Hulk, #1.
Love that.
Pretty cool, right? That's a fantastic cover. I can't say
those are great. If you like the Hulk, buy those. Those are awesome.
I don't like his face on here much, but I think the rest of it just looks awesome because he looks massive. And I don't know exactly who did the cover. I'll find out in a second here. Let's see if they does it say
how long did those last? Those lasted pretty long, right?
Ken Barr. Yeah, I don't remember how many issues. I have a handful of them. I think it went at least 10 or 20, right?
I think it's one out of all of the Marvel magazines. I think that was one of the longest. I mean, Savage Sword of Conan was the longest, but the Incredible Hulk, I think, was like the second longest running on that. Because though those magazines, in my opinion, are fantastic, everything, all those old black and white Curtis mags, they didn't have a long run. Most of them lasted 10, 11 issues and then, popped. Yeah. So.
Like I did a couple episodes ago, I did the issue #1 of Doc Savage, and that only ran, I think, eight.
Yeah, which it's a shame.
Yeah, and that was really good. I like that they did these as a way to introduce a little more mature subject matter, right? These weren't really geared at kids. I mean, first of all, this was a buck. This was 1977. So, I bought these very sparingly back then because, of course, I had very, very little money. So I would be like, occasionally I would buy, like I bought this off the rack. But I remember, if I buy one of these, I can't get anything else, right? But that's it. That's the dollar is like. Oh.
I got to admit, it was an investment, but you got a lot of bang for your buck. There's a lot of good reading in these. And as I said, for some reason too, the Incredible Hulk ones you can find cheap sometimes. I picked one up myself not that long. Oh, isn't that?
So here we got, and most of these have either multiple stories or editorials or interviews and things like that. So this has got the Krylorian Conspiracy, written by Doug Mensch, Walt Simonson, and Alfred Akala did all the artwork on those. And then there's an editorial, and then you got the Trail of the Starstone, and that's, we talked about a couple episodes ago when we did the Werewolf by Night thing. This is the story, the continuation of the Ulysses Bloodstone from Marvel Presents. So that is who wrote that? So that is John Warner wrote, John Buscema and Rudy Nebris did the arts and the inks and stuff. So here, so we've got the Krylorian Conspiracy. As you can see, pretty good art. So this is done by written by Doug Mensch, art Walt Simonson, and Alfred Akala did this particular story. So, again, really good art. For the time, I mean, it was kind of weird for me, especially when you're seeing the Hulk not green, right? So here you've got him all in glorious black and white, very detailed, a lot of good action here. Hulk's kind of sporting the flat top here, making him look like Frankenstein, which is kind of interesting, but I think it kind of works, right? So really neat. You got all the other characters here. Let's say on the first page here, we got Thunderbolt Ross is in here, Betty Ross, Rick Jones is in this particular story. So basically this is him, I don't think there's any big supervillain in this, at least until the end later on. But as you can see, yeah, because you got here the Gremlin, or the Gargoyle, actually. Gargoyle, the Gremlin. Yep, Gargoyle.
I love that.
Big daddy here. He's kind of the Return of the Gargoyle.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to see if there's any cool like splash pages here. Okay. And then, we always love looking at these ads. So all the cool posters you can get. You got the monsters, you got the hot ladies in the bikinis, Raphael Welch, Marlon Brando, the Western stars. I mean, there's like a little bit of everything there. King Kong, W.C. Fields. And then, of course, the battle scenes.
Oh, yeah. And I got to admit, you know what? The Hulk was always kind of a little bit towards a horror figure in the aspect that it was kind of like a Frankenstein Quasimodo character.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
And the black and white kind of brings that to life. Look at that Hulk smash. Ah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So, again, we're not going to get too much into the story. Let me see if I can get another interesting page if they got any more big splash pages. No, not really. But then you got the editorial section. All right, which is cool. Lots to read here. And then, you know, Kirk mentioned last time on the Vampirella episode is that, you read in these, you hour plus. This is not a 15-page comic that you've done in 3, 4, 5 minutes. This is detailed, you know, about 100 pages or close to 66 in this particular one. So here you got next issue, the X-Men, and then here there's Bloodstone.
Oh, that's awesome.
So for every, I totally forgot that was in here. It's just interesting how we did the Werewolf by Night episode. We talked about the Bloodstone family and the character that had the 2-issue run in Marvel Presents back, I don't know, what, a year or two before this came out, I think. And then they just never returned to it. So now here is the continuation of Ulysses Bloodstone, Monster Hunter. And this is
I liked about Marvel. Marvel would occasionally close out a book and be like, well, wait a minute, we left a couple of, storylines that were we got to tie some stuff up, and they'd come back and you'd see it appear either in a Marvel 2-in-1 or something. They did that with Skull. And here you see Bloodstone appear again. They did, I like that. They knew that there were people out there who were like, hey, what the hell happened with that?
What happened? Can you finish it off? Yeah. Remember, Wood God is another example. Remember, Wood God was in Marvel Premiere, and then you didn't see him for a while, and then he showed up in Marvel Team Up, right, with Spider-Man and the Hulk, and he would pop up here and there, which I think was kind of neat. Let's see if we got anything else here to kind of show off. Oh yeah, speaking of monsters, right? So this is the monster that Bloodstone is after here. Pretty cool. I need to reread this because this has been a long time, and I always thought this was
forgot Bloodstone was in those. God, I got to get some of those too.
Yeah, I know, right?
Something else to buy, right? Great.
I personally think this is a really cool character, and I'm actually shocked that they didn't do more with Bloodstone in like the horror comics, right? Because you gave like Thongor like a multi-issue run in was it Marvel Chiller, right, or Creatures on the Loose, right? I could totally see them doing that with Bloodstone character because he's basically a monster hunter. So why not throw him in a monster series?
What I find though, it's funny, it's like all of these like old black and white magazines and stuff are now, people look for them, they hunt them down. And when I've talked to different people who own comic shops, they're even like, oh, I get that stuff in, it's gone in like 3 seconds. They go, oh, let's do that. And you just, I think the stuff has aged so well. Like people have gone back and realized, you know what, it didn't sell fantastic at the time period because I don't think enough people knew it was out there, so to speak. Because those didn't appear on the rack with the comic books. Because when we were kids, you went to the spinning rack that had the comic books on it. Now
these were the magazine sections along with like Teen Beat and Hit Parader and all the other stuff, right?
Yeah, if you were looking for comics, you didn't go there. So I think it was a marketing issue more so than a quality issue. Yeah. And I think people have gone back and looked at those stories and said, oh my God, this stuff was really solid. But again, trying to find copies of the stuff, for whatever reason, they didn't survive as well. Even the bound editions that have appeared over the last 10 years or so, they come and go. Like they print them for a short period, but I hate to say, a lot of people don't even realize that this stuff existed because you don't see it in the shops, and you don't.
No, and we go to a lot of little local cons and local comic shops, and a lot of times we're looking for this sort of thing. And you don't always see them, right? So when you do, you jump all over them. I remember, like, I don't know, a year or so ago, we were talking about the Planet of the Apes black and white series, which we never see anywhere. You got to find them online. You got to order them when you see them because you're not going to stumble upon them.
And I hate to say it, those are bad because usually even beat on, they're not going for a buck or two like they used to. Like no, because people are looking for, just like us. There is that group of people who have realized, oh my God, it's got Klug in it. It's solid. The story writing's great. You got people.
And those covers are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so people hunt the stuff down, and I do find like sometimes I'll be at a show and for whatever reason they end up under the table or something. Because I was at a show not that long ago where I picked up a couple of old Warren mags and stuff, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I got that. That's under the table." I'm like, "Why is it under the table, dude? This is like, He's like, "Well, I get a couple guys like you who know what they're looking for," but he goes, "Most people want the Deadpool or the Spider-Man or the X-Men." I'm like, "That's stuff. I'm not saying that's bad, but dude, all right, I'm going under the table, you know?
That's why if you ever go to a con or a local shop with Kirk, you always see him looking under the tables because there's always boxes down there, right? There's no lettering out front. There's no signs that Kirk's like, oh, I bet you there's some good stuff down there. So Kirk is always on his knees looking through the boxes on the floor because you never know what's down there, right? That's like usually the stuff that they haven't gotten to that they haven't brought up top, right? That they still need to kind of go through and figure out what they're doing with. So yeah, good stuff. So there you have it, everybody. Rampaging Hulk, issue number 1. Marvel.
Awesome.
We'll have more of these coming up in the weeks ahead because we got plenty of them. So stay tuned for that and more. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell. Also, please make sure you hit the like button before you leave us today. And we hope to see you very, very soon here on Comic Book Users. If you want to get a Comic Book Users shirt, all right, The Adventures of Wood, that link is down below. You can go over to the Sea Tranquility merch page to get yourself a copy of that, or a copy of that, a shirt of that, not a copy. It's not like a... It's been a long day. I know. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. For Kirk Manning, I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you real soon here on Comic Book Users. Have a good one. Bye-bye.